Hey guys, today I'm going to be showing you how to read a 1 to 4 family Texas residential contract. So if you are buying or selling a property and you're using a realtor, then you will be receiving one of these. So let's go through it real quick. Here's a quick disclaimer because I'm a real estate broker and I'm abided by Texas real estate law. Now you should, if you have any questions, don't consider this any legal advice. Always get an attorney to review the paperwork. This is only my opinion. I am a real estate broker since 2005. I've had a real estate license 2005 and a real estate broker. Now saying that, okay, let's get to business. Just a quick little summary here. So they're gonna say here seller. See here the party seller, and this is the buyer. You're gonna put your full name there. Then you're gonna have lot, block, and legal description. So legal description, you can get that from your Harris County, or I'm sorry, your county appraisal district. It's the meets and bounds of city, county, and then of course right here is your address. Okay, all this stuff's improvements. Let you know what's going now. If you have like TVs or screens or shutters, you need to put a non-realty item addendum in there if you need to include those. And it tells you what's included and what's not included. Accessories, blah, pool equipment, all this stuff has to be labeled out. Okay, so that's what it's telling you what goes with the house. Exclusion. So you got to be careful here. Some sellers will put in there that they are taking, I don't know, something different that's not a part of this. Okay, part of C or B. Okay, so then we go to sales price. This is the easy part. What part you put in cash? And then if you're going to be using some kind of financing. Using financing, most of the time you're going to be third-party financing addendum. That basically says this contract is subject to financing and some kind of financing terms. We'll go through that in another video. If the property is leased out, then you need to collect the residential leases, collect here, fixture leases. Let's say, for instance, the oven and the stove, those are leased out. Natural resource leases. Let's say there's oil there. You never know. There's gold there, and you lease the below ground. You need to put that in there. What else in there? All right, must deliver earnest money. This goes to the title company. You may see right here people put seller's choice and escrow agent seller's choice, address seller's choice, because when you're putting an offer out there, realtors don't know what the title company information will be unless it's in agent remarks. Usually it's 1%. So if it's $100,000, be expecting this to be about 1,000 and as earnest money, and this is going to be your option fee. So usually it's $100, but it can give you more. It can be 100, 200, 500, depending on how expensive that house is. As the option fee that allows you to get outside of exit the contract for any reason during the option period. Okay, that's right there. The earnest money and option fee should be paid to the escrow agent, but it's separate. Now, a buyer shall deliver additional earnest money. Sometimes that's negotiated. So $2,500 or whatever it may be to the escrow agent 10 days later or 5 days later after the executed contract. It's very rare that we do that though. Termination option. This is what I was talking about, option period. Okay, so right here is very important. Make sure he puts, my opinion, 10 days is good for you to get inspections done, run through the house, all they get this, try to get your survey in there. Just basically, this is a time for you to really decide if you want to move forward with this house. Maybe you're negotiating with another property, but once you're outside of this date, then you are going hard. That means your earnest money is now at risk. Most of the time, you will lose your earnest money if you go outside of these days. Okay, so that's that. Title policy, your title policy, who's paying for, the seller or the buyer, issued by seller's choice. If they're paying for it, they're going to use their title company. Now, why is the title company important is the reason sometimes realtors have relationships and they can move a file a little bit faster, run favors and stuff, so that's good. But they're all regulated by the state, the title policy, most of the time. A little wiggle room in there, but not much, unless you get into the millions of dollars. Shortage. If there's some kind of shortage with the land, who's going to be paying for it, buyer or seller? It says here will not be amended or will be amended. Who's paying for it? Blah blah blah. All this stuff is commitment. Title commitments. Has 20 days to give you a title commitment, and that means that basically the property is good and there's no liens and all that stuff. Who's paying for the survey? So most of the time there's not a survey with the property, but if there is, then you can put right here within this many days the seller has to give it to you. If not, within this many days the buyer has to pay for it. Okay, and within this many days after the effect, seller shall furnish a new contract. Who's paying for the survey basically, and how many days? Okay, the objections. Now, if usually you will see residential use here, residential use. Like if you can't live there, then if you may object if you can't live there for some reason, or it's not for residential use, and you may object 5 days or whatever days. I like to put 5 days after the buyer receives the title commitment. Okay, so just going through all this stuff is here. HOAs, their HOA is or is not. Their statute of tax-free district property is subject situated in the utility district. We have that in Houston and like in Sugar Land. We got these utility areas. We get special taxes. Tidewaters along Galveston, annexation. All this stuff is really standard. It's, all this is written by the state to be fair to the buyer and seller. Certificate of mold remediation, because we had a lot of flood. If the property is remediated from mold, seller must provide to buyer a certificate under this. This is a new, actually, I think it's new. Attached to this contract, water, utility, drainage, all this good stuff. Property, do you buy it? Okay, so seller's disclosure is another little form that the sellers, if they live there, they must provide it for you. Although they can just mark it out and just say, hey, not applicable, get you an inspection. But, they could, if you have received it, just maybe you have received it. If not, it's good to put this one right here. Buyer has not received the notice, and then within, 5 days, to get it. So that gives you exit out of the contract based on that little law right there. Oh, always, this is going to be the address of the property right here. And it's on all pages. You see here? So anyways, broker. And if the broker owns a percentage of the property, if it's an investment, he has to notify you, like the listing agent, the listing broker, whoever, or even the buyer broker or buyer agent. The closing, this is the closing date, so this is important. You just give yourself 30, 45 days unless you have cash. 30 days is good for financing as long as you move and you give the loan officer your docs fast. Don't be messing around. Buyer and seller initials on every page. This is the address. Possession upon closing and funding, unless you want to do it according to a temporary residential lease. But 99% of the time, it's upon closing and funding. Special provisions. This is only facts, so like something very specific in here. Usually, realtors should not type anything in here because, we're not lawyers. You have to put a real hard fact, like, let's say, for instance, there's an extra door that comes with the property or something. And then you could say, hey, okay, that door is coming with it. It had to be something very facts. Settlements and expenses, closing costs. This is your settlements and closing costs. Seller shall pay the following expenses, release the liens, the following amount multiplied. Oh, this is to the realtor. So 3% of the sales price is standard. Although you could put $5,000 here or whatever that payment fee, and an amount not to exceed this. Okay, so this is just basically what the settlement and other expenses that the seller shall pay. Okay. Oops. Oh, God, dog it. Hold on. And their prorations. So basically, if you close at the middle of the year, then they're going to prorate the taxes, any kind of leases, any kind of money that's due. They'll do that at the title company, and you need to make sure they do it. Sometimes they overlook that. That's true. I had a closing just recently, and mediation, casual. Basically, you got to, if you have a problem, you go to mediator, attorney fees. Whoever's messed up is going to pay. If we go to court, then you're going to, and if you're at fault, then most likely you're going to pay the fees. So it's very important. Escrow, like the escrow agent, not a party. All they care about is the title of the property. Expenses at closing, earnest money will be applied to the amount that you are paying. So if you put 1,000 in earnest or earnest money, and then you only need $99,000 left. You put 1,000, goes to it. That's just a rough summary. Okay. Demand. Upon termination of the contract, either party may send a release of earnest money as long as there's a reason for it. Maybe you're in the option period, or you were third-party financing it in where you couldn't get financing, you were the days, or the title commitment problem, some kind of reason. But you need to send that with the reason. Okay, it has to be a valid reason. Make sure that you stay within the option period. Okay, that helps now. Notice escrow agent, representations, all this stuff is standard. Federal required. Foreign person. If you're a foreign person, you got to go to the IRS and all that good stuff. Notices. What do you want your notices to? A lot of times the realtor will put their information here so they can get the notices, but you can receive it. I don't recommend it because the people will start calling you, realtors and title company. The other realtor, should I say? It's better just to let the realtors handle it. Just let them handle that. That's what I would agree. Now here goes some third-party financing addendum. You need to check that box if you're going to be using financing. What else is there? If there's a short sale addendum, all this stuff here. This is not really. If you're going to use seller financing, this stuff, and most important, you're going to be using this one. You're going to type IABS here, information about broker services. That's standard. But if you have an attorney, you should always use one. If you want to use one, I have to say that because I'm a broker. Make sure you put the address in here. This is the date that it's executed. When both parties sign it, the title company will fill out the execution date. Okay. Buyers, if there's two buyers, they sign. Two sellers sign here. And the brokers put their information, who's representing who, seller, buyer, and seller here. And once again, you put this 3% of the sales price as standard or the flat fee, whatever the case may be. The address, option fee, receipt is going to be by the title company, and they'll put that in there. Earnest money receipt, they'll put that in there. Contract receipt, they'll put that in there. And that's the additional earnest money if you have. That's about it for the 1 to 4 family contract. I did a quick summary for you, just so that you know what to look out for when you're reading the 1 to 4 family residential contract. I'm Alan Jimenez, real estate broker at the HoustonHeights.org. Been doing it for 20 years, gone by fast. So if you have any questions about reading this contract, the next video I'll be talking about third-party financing. We'll also be touching on a little bit of non-realty item addendum, like let's say for instance the pool vacuum cleaner, the shades, the blinds. All this stuff will be in the non-realty item addendum. We'll talk about that the next video. But this is a good start for you to understand how to read a 1 to 4 family residential contract. If you have any questions, just comment below and I'll always reply. See you in the next one.